and welcome to episode 15 of the Creative Naturally podcast. My name is Bex, I'm your host, and this is my podcast about my creative endeavours, lots of knitting, lots of creative fun, and yeah, I'm so glad to see you guys here. Welcome to everybody who is coming back and has watched previous podcasts, and hello to everybody who is new. I have got lots of new viewers, which is so exciting, and yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself to you guys. So my name's Rebecca, or Bex, and I am a 28-year-old English gal living here in country Victoria in Australia. I live in beautiful little countryside village up in the Strathbogie Ranges at the moment, which is about 2 hours outside of Melbourne and in southern Australia. And I live here with my partner Tom, who's Australian, and his family, so his mother and father. It's their family property. So I'm sitting in our garden room at the moment, and there's beautiful trees and birds around the outside of the house, and the chickens are roaming around pecking at things, so it's very beautiful here. And yeah, we moved here about 2 weeks ago. We were living in central Melbourne, in quite a different lifestyle. So yeah, it's really beautiful to be here and spend time in the countryside. And I think that's caught you guys up. So I've got some beautiful knitted yumminess to show you guys today. I'm drinking a cup of coffee. Don't know if you can see the yumminess. And this little mug was found by Sharon, Tom's mum, in a local charity shop, local op shop. That's what they call them in Australia, opportunity shop, which I like. I like the word opportunity. And this was made actually by a friend of Sharon's a couple of decades ago, by a lovely lady, I think called Katrina, and we've got quite a lot of her ceramics, probably actually some in the cabinet behind you that you might be able to see. Actually, yeah, I think you can see one of them just there that Sharon's had for 20 years or something, and she found this one in the op shop recently. It's got gorgeous little ducks on it, and yeah, it's a lovely shape. So I'm going to be sipping on my coffee as I chat to you guys. So I am going sans notes today. I'm just going to wing it and see what happens. So if I forget any information, which is highly likely, designers' names is usually the first thing that goes without notes. I'll just pop them on the bottom of the screen here, so you'll be able to see, and I'll pop them in there in editing. So just quickly before I start, you can find me on Instagram as Bex_in_real_life. I post regularly on Instagram, so if you want to see any kind of in progress pictures of my knitting and things, then head on over there. You get to see a little bit about where I'm living and what I'm up to in my days. You can also find me on Ravelry as Rebecca SJS, and you can find show notes and other kind of tutorials and things over on my blog, which is www.creativenaturally.wordpress.com. All of the information will be below as well. I just want to apologise, I didn't put show notes up for the last podcast. I haven't had any requests to do so, and as I put a lot of the information in the podcast anyway, I'm not sure how much people use them, but I'm going to keep on going with that, and I'll make sure that I put show notes for this podcast over on my blog. So there'll be a link in the down bar below on how to head over there if you want some more information about the yarns that I'm using, etc. And other things. I created a Ravelry group yesterday, I think. So if you want to head on over to that, then it's Creative Naturally Podcast in the groups tab on Ravelry. You can actually just, on the main page of Ravelry in the search engine, you just pop in Creative Naturally Podcast and then change the little tab to groups instead of, I think it will normally rest on patterns. So you can just change that to groups and it will come up, it will be the first option. And I've already got 10 people in there, which is amazing because I haven't told anybody that I created the group. So go the people who found the group and have already joined, so that's really wonderful. And I've created a couple of discussion threads in there. So the first one is a Q&A, and I'm just going to be collecting any questions that you guys have that you would like me to share on podcasts, or any kind of topics that you would like to hear me talk about. I'm happy to talk about anything personal, about moving to Australia or anything like that. And you can also ask me any knitted relating questions that you think you would like to know and I might know. I also have a discussion thread on there called Introductions. So I just thought it would be a really nice way to get to know everybody from this community because it's growing. And yeah, I've had some really lovely little messages from people and photos of people watching my podcast from their houses, and it's so sweet. And yeah, I just talk to a computer, so it's so lovely to get to know the people who are watching. And I know I love connecting in with the podcasters that I watch and feel like I'm kind of part of their social circle. So yeah, if you'd like to introduce yourself over on the Ravelry group, then please do, and I will give you a little shout out when in the next episode. So yeah, I've been doing lots of knitting this week actually. I have been quite sick, so it's been 2 weeks since I last recorded, and in that 2 weeks I've kind of been on and off coldy, and I've also had my wisdom teeth have been playing up. Well, wisdom tooth has been playing up, so I've been feeling quite unwell, and this last couple of days has been the first time in probably about 2 weeks that I felt almost normal. Like, I might sound a bit nasally to you. So I'm still a little bit stuffed up, but not too bad. So I've had a couple of days off work just knitting, which has been amazing, just to completely relax. And yeah, I'm going to get my wisdom teeth taken out. Anybody who saw me on Instagram got to see my shock at, yeah, dentistry is not free in Australia, and it's going to cost me $4,000 to get my wisdom teeth taken out. So who knows where that money will come from, but it's going to come from somewhere, and I was in absolutely shock yesterday. So I'm going to have some, probably about a week of getting well again after the surgery, which will probably be mid-November, so lots of knitting time. Where shall I start? Okay, I'll start with the two things that I was working on earlier in the last couple of weeks. The first one is in this beautiful little handmade project bag. I went through a phase of making these bags when I was working at Morris & Sons in Melbourne and selling them there. And they're so sweet, super lovely. So this is my Risen cardigan by Melanie Berg. Pretty sure, yes, Melanie Berg. And I was inspired to make this cardigan by Katie of Inside Number 23 podcast. She's in the process of making a Risen out of a gradient set that she bought, and I just saw the pattern and fell in love. It's very similar to the featherweight cardigan pattern by Hannah Fettig, or Knitbot is her design name. However, the difference is that instead of having to pick up along the whole of the outside afterwards to create the neckband is knitted at the same time as the whole piece. And it's got this incredible stitch pattern that I just love. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving this. The yarn that I'm using is the turmeric colourway in the BFL base by Dyed by Hand, which is a lovely Australian, I think she's called Julie, Australian indie dyer. I got this skein, it was a 150 gram skein at Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show in July, I think. And this is how far 150 grams got me, which is quite amazing. 600 meters pretty much exactly. And I was thinking I might be able to get a cropped cardi out of it, but I really I'm loving it so much. I want to give it what it deserves. So I'm actually purchasing another 150 gram skein. And yeah, so I'm going to either make a bit more of a longer cropped cardigan with it and then have the rest of the yarn in stash for a little while and probably make a shawl, or I'll do an extended length and make it a nice super long cardi. Haven't decided yet. But I've left probably about 10 grams. It's a bit washed out. It's quite a kind of, here we go, that's more like it. It's kind of quite an egg yolky. It's looking greener on the screen. It's quite an egg yolky orange. You can see the real colour on my Instagram feed. Yeah, that's a bit better. It's definitely not a green shade of mustard. It's a kind of an egg yolky shade. Anyway, so I've kept aside 10 grams of yarn because it's going to be a new dye lot, so I want to stripe it with the new skein that I receive, just in case, because it's hand dyed. I'm not sure how accurate I don't know how similar the colours will be. So yeah, I'm super excited to carry on working with that. I haven't worked on it probably for about a week and a half because I've run out of yarn. But I'm in love with it. It's so beautiful. And it's got this really beautiful decorative rib. Kind of like an eyelet rib. That's just gorgeous. On here. So I think, I haven't decided yet whether or not I'm going to do this pattern up for the base of it or this one. The pattern calls for this one for the hem. But I'm not sure. We'll see. So that is kind of in hibernation for the moment. Pop that back in there. Oh, I'll tell you actually while I remember what I'm wearing. This is my Wolf River pullover, which is a pattern by Melissa Shashbury. I'll stand up so you can see. I made this in the autumn, I think, and I was inspired to make this one by Melody of the Mandarins podcast. I absolutely love her podcast. You should totally go and check her out if you haven't already. And I knit this out of Morris & Sons Norway Templi? Yeah, Templi. The pattern calls for a 12 ply and I knit it out of the 10 ply with the needles that they recommended, and it worked out really well. I love this jumper. It's so cozy and warm, and it's got a really beautiful texture on it as well. I had some troubles with, I don't know if you can see, I had to fudge a little bit the shoulder seams just because the pattern didn't match, which I don't know what I did, but I struggled. But that doesn't bother me at all. I never notice it unless somebody's staring at my shoulder. They wouldn't notice it either. But I love it. I'm also wearing these gorgeous little earrings that I made. They're little crochet earring kind of hoops, I guess you'd call them, with that I used a metallic thread and also some DMC tapestry threads. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with them. I wear them quite often. They're very light, but really effective. And these are two of my favourite colours, kind of dusty, pinky, mauvey tone with a gold strand. And I've actually got a tutorial on how I made these and how you can make your own over on my blog. So www.creativenaturally.wordpress.com. I don't know if you can hear the chickens, but somebody's not happy. There's lots of broody chooks and they are taking up the prime egg-laying spots. They're so funny. Okay, so the next project that I am working on is, I've realised I haven't shown you my finished object, but I'm just going to go with it. So this is a work in progress. This is another one of my handmade bags. I love this fabric, super, super sweet. And this is the Dance Lightly shawl, which is a pattern by Bunny Muff on Ravelry. And I am knitting this out of Manos del Uruguay Fino in the Inkwell colourway, which is a light 4-ply. It's kind of a 3-ply. Varies between a lace weight and a 4-ply, I guess you'd say. And I've done a few repeats on this actually since I last spoke to you folks. This is the beautiful yarn. It's a real kind of dusty blue purple tone. It's coming out a lot more purple, I think, but it's quite a muted purpley, cornflowery, bluey grey. It's literally half purple, half blue, half grey. There's no kind of in between. It's gorgeous. It's one of my favourite colours. And yeah, this is the Dance Lightly shawl. And it's an asymmetrical triangular shawl by the designer's name is Bunny Muff. And it's got this really beautiful, I don't know if you can see, I wonder if there we go, put it against my face. You can see the little leaf patterns here, made with eyelets, and this really beautiful kind of picot style edging that gets worked alongside it. And yeah, I'm just keeping on going on this. It's going to be a slow project. It's a 16 row lace repeat, and there's lace on both sides, so even though it's very repetitive, I do have to think about where I am. I have to think about what row I'm on, and I'm actually these are my scruffy notes. So yeah, it's not something that I can just kind of knit away on without thinking. I have to sit down in front of the fire or something and knit it instead of watching podcasts and things like that. So it's a really lovely project to have alongside, and I'm in no hurry to finish it. I'm actually using the lacquered birchwood symphonies, which is their knit picks, or knitter's pride is what they'd be called in America, but we know them as knit picks here in Australia. And the reason I'm using wooden instead of metal, which is my normal, is that this yarn is so slippery. It's a really beautiful Uruguayan fair trade hand dyed yarn. So if you haven't checked out Manos del Uruguay, then totally do. They're beautiful. What was I going to say? Yeah, it's 70% merino, 30% silk, and so it's very slippery. So I started off knitting with my normal metals. So I use a mixture of Knit Pro Novas and also higher regular needles. So they're metal regulars, not their sharps. And yeah, they were just too slippery. The stitches were coming off. So I switched over to these guys. I'm just going to move my screen slightly. Cutting me off. There we go. I switched over to these guys, and they're just perfect. They do a really good job. So yeah, I'm in love with this. I love all the different tones and colours that come through in this yarn when it's knitted up. You can actually see them. There's just so many different kind of textures and tones in here. It's so beautiful. I know it's just like this. It's like a cloud. It's the softest thing. So yeah, I know I'm gonna love wearing this, and I'm just going to keep on going. So yeah, I've also got I've got two or three, maybe 2 skeins of Fino in a really beautiful kind of beigey mustard tone as well, that I'm kind of waiting to use for a garment. I haven't decided yet what it's going to be, but that will be coming up in upcoming episodes as well. Coffee. I will show you now a finished object actually, and just sneak it in here in between the works in progress. I will take them off my feet. I'm not showing you the bottom of them because I've been wearing them constantly, so they're gross. I'll actually probably insert a photo of what they looked like before I started wearing them all the time. But I knit some of these guys. They are Simple House Slippers, which is a pattern, it's a free pattern by Temple of Knits. You can find it on Ravelry. You can just go to my project page, that might be easiest. Or just pop in Simple House Slippers into the search engine in Ravelry, and it'll lead you to her blog post where she shows you how to make them. They are so easy to make and they are so nice to wear. Yeah, they're molded to my feet, look at that. So I knit these guys out of some leftover, actually it's leftover yarn from what I'm wearing. So this is yarn that I over dyed. So it's this colour, it was originally this colour of yarn, it's the Norway 10 ply, and I had 2 balls left over, 200-gram balls left over from this project. And I over dyed it with a kind of, I exhausted a dye pot with my friend Sophie, so she had dyed some really beautiful blue, turquoisey blue yarn for me, and I added in some, I think some grey maybe, and a little bit of purple, and created this really dusty shade, which is being completely blown out. There we go, that's the real colour. It's like a very muted grey kind of purpley blue. And yeah, so I knit, I think one slipper took 2 hours, so I knit these in an afternoon. They're perfect Christmas knits, like perfect Christmas knits. I think everybody's going to be getting a set of these for Christmas, whether or not they're Southern Hemisphere or Northern Hemisphere. And I got a pair of these out of well under 100 grams. I think they were like 35 grams each. I think I used about 70 grams. I've got 30 left of the last skein, and then I've got this one as well. So I think I'm going to make my partner Tom a pair out of this. And yeah, he's got bigger feet than me, so it'll probably use a whole 100 grams. But really good little stash buster for kind of 10-ish ply yarn. I think you could use anything. I'll pop them back on. I think you could use anything between an 8 ply and a 12 ply, no problem. Just adjust accordingly. But they're super duper simple. You should go and check out the pattern. I really enjoyed making them. And they're just so lovely to wear. I'll show you. I don't know if you can see, but they just sit on your feet like this. They stay on really well. And the garter stitch rib on the heel and this bottom section actually works really well as a grip on your feet. So they're not crazy slippy slidey, which is amazing. So yeah, I'm really happy with those. So that was my finished object for this episode. Oh, I feel like I'm talking really fast. Okay. So, my next work in progress, I've got a beautiful little knitting basket. My next work in progress was I just didn't have it on the cards to make this at all. It's actually coming into spring here. It's still very chilly, but I had no plans of making anything this kind of wintry and warm, but it just had to be cast on. So this is, I'm just trying to remember what the pattern name is. Okay, yeah. This is the Sun Dozier by Diana Waller. And I am partway, there we go, there's the side seams. I am kind of coming to the end of the body, and it's knit bottom up, which I don't normally knit. I normally knit top down, raglan style, but this is a colourwork sweater, so I think it's a lot easier to do colourworks from the bottom up. I am knitting this out of some beautiful skeins of yarn that I got from a fibre festival. I think it might have actually been from my first ever episode would have highlighted this as kind of stash acquisitions. This is Wirra Warra wool. There we go, a bit bright. Wirra Warra wool, and it's by Bennett and Gregor, which is an Australian farm. So they're based out of South Australia. You can purchase their yarn online, so it's bennettandgregor.com. And this is their 8-ply Wirra Warra wool. And the main colour that I'm knitting is the gecko. There we go, gecko. And then the contrasting colour is this guy here, which is wattlebark. So, this is what they look like. So beautiful. Really, really excited. I only had I haven't started with this colour yet. I've only got 3 50-gram balls of this dark shade. And I think I had 8, 9 maybe. I think maybe I had 8 or 9 of this lighter shade, which is the main colour. So I'm down about 100 meters for the main pattern, for what the pattern calls for. So I'm playing yarn chicken. It's gonna be okay. I have a backup plan. So what I'm thinking is, for the main body and the sleeves, I'm going to do a crop sleeve, so probably around about this length here. I'm also going to, I have this leftover skein of Bendigo yarn, which is a very similar colour, and I'm thinking that it's a really similar kind of feel as well. I'm thinking I'm going to use this for the colourwork section, because we basically, I can't get my words out. Okay, breathe, Bex. So I'll insert a photo here so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So you've got the 2 colour tones, and I'm thinking what I'm going to do is add the yoke pattern, a basic kind of more simple version of the yoke pattern, onto the sleeve as well. So I'll actually cast on and do the ribbing in the dark tone, and then bring that into the lighter tone with some colourwork patterns. So I still need to design that. But I'm thinking what I might do is use this wool for the light colour, so this colour here within the colourwork, so it's not exactly the same yarn, but it doesn't eat up the tiny bit that I have of this. Do you get what I mean? I hope you get what I mean. I think you get what I mean. So I have got 4 balls left of this main colour, plus like a half a ball. So it's going to be close, but with this, I think it will work. And I haven't decided yet if this is a Christmas knit or not. It depends how much I fall in love with it. But I am knitting this thinking, it started off for me, and then I'm thinking that my 16-year-old sister will just live in this in winter. So I'm thinking it might be a Christmas knit for her. She loves big, baggy, cozy jumpers, and she's definitely becoming knit worthy, which is awesome. So yeah, potentially this could be for her. We shall see. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. And if I didn't say, the pattern is Sun Dozier, and it's by Diana Waller. So my project page is called the Wirra Warra Waller, because it's Wirra Waller wool. Wirra Waller wool, there we go. And the designer's name is Diana Waller. So there you go. It's my Wirra Warra Waller. So that's what I'm working on as well. That's really nice, enjoyable, simple knitting at the moment. It's just got some basic decreases and increases going on at the moment, and lots of stock in it, which is thoroughly lovely, because all of my other projects are really involved. So it's nice to have some TV knitting or some podcast knitting. So this next project is a mystery knit along, and anybody who does not want to know anything about Stephen West's current mystery knit along, which is the Building Blocks Cal, then just don't watch this section. Okay, so forewarning, warning, 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 warning. Okay, done. So I very, very excitingly am taking part in Stephen West's current mystery knit along, which is called the Building Blocks Cal, and I decided to cast this on, I think, very soon after my last. It would have been, I think maybe it might have even been the day of filming the last podcast. And I've wanted to do a Stephen West pattern for a long time, but his design aesthetic is not what I would naturally wear. I, as you guys know who have watched me for a long time, generally go for kind of simpler, more easily wearable pieces, muted tones, earthy tones, autumnal kind of vibe. And I don't really go for geometrics that much. I go for things which are kind of more nature inspired, I guess you'd call it. So I've wanted to cast the exploration station on for a while now, and I haven't. And then I realised that Stephen West Mystery Knit Along was starting the very next day, I think after I filmed my last podcast, and I stash dived basically. And I think I might have shared that I was considering taking part in it last episode, I can't remember, but I decided to, and I will show you what I found in my stash. So we have got, this is a Knit Picks. I can't remember what it's called, I'll write it down below. And this one, yeah, so that's what they look like all together. So this is a Knit Picks. This one here is mind gone blank. We'll write it here as well. I picked this one up at Pirate Pearl Yarns. This is her yarn. I picked this up in her sale bin at Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show in July, and this was the last. It's being washed out. Sorry, it's natural lighting and the clouds are passing over, so the screen's looking quite greeny at the moment. It should sort itself out in a bit. Anyway, so I picked this up. This was the last skein of yarn that I bought at Bendigo. I think it was my last $23, and it was a discounted skein of yarn, potentially because it's got this kind of pooling of darker dye, but I love that. I love that. So beautiful. I really like yarn that doesn't look like it's been moved around the dye pot very much. I love the mottles and the tones. It's kind of the closest I really get to variegated yarn that I use, so I love that. I also am using this, which I got at Bendigo as well. So this is the first skein of yarn that I bought at Bendigo, the first and last. And this is by Kathy's Fibre. And it's a single ply, really beautiful kind of dusty rose leading up to kind of natural cream almost in some spots. So beautiful. Love this so much. And finally is some Knit Pick Stroll, which is in a kind of creamy greeny beigey colour. There we go, that's closer. And it just works so well. I love these colours together so much. And these were all in my stash, which is amazing. I got this one here and this one here from my friend Sophie for free. They were both from Knit Picks, and she just had them in her stash and she didn't want them. And then these two in the middle were Bendigo. And can you see how I've got a colour theme going on? Plum for days. Kind of matches my lipstick. And my earrings. Yeah, so this is how it's looking so far. Again, don't look if you don't want to see, okay? Forewarned. I am on section 8, which is the last section of clue number 3. And the final clue will be arriving in 2 days, so on Friday. I'm so excited. And what else did I want to say before I show you? I'm going for the largest option. Why not, hey? I've got so much yarn, so why not? So yeah, it's massive, so it's going to look really weird showing you, but I'll show you anyway. And there's tons of stitch markers. But this is what it looks like. Here, let's bunch it all to the edges so you can actually see all the textures. How amazing is that? I love it so much. Yeah, so in love with it. So you can see kind of what's going on really. There's different textures and stripes, and then these big blocks of increase and decrease kind of diamond shapes. It's very geometric, and I just love how having all the similar colours don't detract from the texture. And I'm really happy that I chose colours that are so kind of in the same spectrum, I guess you'd call it. I learnt brioche for this project. And oh man, it was hard, but I am so proud of myself and so happy with the result. It worked out really nicely that there was such high contrast between the two colours. And I just love how it looks on the back as well. So cool. So yeah, the way that Stephen West does his mystery knit-alongs is that he actually, anything that he thinks that people are going to struggle with, he actually creates a video. And for the brioche section, he had an option of just doing a garter stitch simple kind of section, which some people chose to do, but I was just like, look, I'm never going to learn brioche if I don't learn it from Stephen West doing this. So I decided to just smash it. And I'm so proud of myself. And I was literally pausing and starting the video row for row, section for section, to learn how to do it. And I'm so grateful that he had a video, because it was so helpful. Because to be honest, it's probably not the easiest brioche pattern to learn from. There's brioche right slanted and left slanted decreases and increases in there. And I just followed the video, did what he told me to do, and it was manageable. It was intense. Like, I got really bad neck pain from just staring at every single section, but it was so worth it. I love the overall effect. And yeah, it has this really cool winged design. Can you see they've got these little diamond sections throughout that are going to need to be blocked. And it's also got... So I've learnt brioche, and I've also learnt I-cord edging as well. So it's got I-cord edging all the way along the outside. And then kind of like a faux I-cord edging here, where you do kind of, can you see there, it just kind of naturally rests over. And then that's an I-cord edging. So amazing. I love it, love it, love it. So yeah, that's what it looks like, and it's huge already, and there's still a whole other clue plus some to do. So at the moment I am just started a few rows into this section, which is going to be another one of these guys. So I've got like 22 rows of kind of knits and purls with increases and decreases, just like this one here in the really beautiful kind of vibrant crimsony red. And then yeah, I'm not sure what's going to be coming on clue number 4. But yeah, it's just going to be so cozy and lovely to wear, and I'm just so happy that I decided to take part. It's really fun. Like, the Ravelry group is so energetic, and everybody's really supportive of each other, and very, very happy that I took part in it. And sacrificed my beautiful Bendigo yarns for this project, because I know it's just going to be one of my favourite pieces to wear. And I'm glad it's so big, because it's just crazy, and it'll be amazing just to wrap kind of like a blanket around my shoulders. I have no idea how I'm going to block this thing. No idea at all. I think it's going to be bigger than my yoga mat, that's for sure. So yeah, this is my bundle of madness and joy. And I think that's everything that I'm working on at the moment. Okay, so on to stash acquisitions. What do I have? I don't have, so I've got 150-gram skein of that beautiful mustard blue face Leicester that's coming, so I can finish my risen cardigan. So that's on the way. I also picked up yesterday from the post office a exciting parcel of, oh, it's very blown out. Yeah, it's just going to blow out everything. Okay, so this is, I got 8 skeins of natural, ready to dye, Bendigo 100% Australian merino sock yarn. Actually, is it 100%? I think it's 80% merino, 20% nylon, and this is Australian merino. And I have used this base so many times. It's one of the main bases that my friend Sophie dyes on. So whenever I use any of her yarn, it's usually this one. And it's amazing. It's a really beautiful, squishy, plied sock yarn. I don't know if you can see here. It's kind of, I think it's 300 and something meters, so it's maybe 320 or something. So it's definitely on the larger side of a 4-ply, somewhere between a 4 and a 6-ply. But it makes great socks. Really love it. And yeah, I actually made my Magrathea shawl out of this, so you can actually get quite a lot out of the meterage. And I think it's a superwash, even though it doesn't say on the site. It's a wool machine wash, so I imagine it must be superwash. I need to check up on that actually. Yeah, so this is 100 grams 4-ply, kind of on the large side of a fingering weight yarn. And I got 8 skeins of this. And the reason I got 8 skeins of this is because I am venturing into the world of natural dyeing. And my plan is, potentially, if all goes well, to make some of the skeins available to you guys. And if I can part with them. We shall see. I'll keep you posted. So I've got 8 skeins of this beautiful yarn to start me off, and I am in the process of waiting for my mordant to arrive. Because if you don't know about natural dyeing, you've got to mordant the yarn so that the natural dyes will bind to the fibre. So I'm so excited. So that arrived yesterday, so that's my main stash acquisition for the week. So 8 skeins of the sock yarn base, and I have been collecting these beautiful flowers and petals from a tree out the front of our garden. I can't for the life of me remember what the plant's called. I'll have to ask Tom's mum again. But I know that it's a good dyeing plant. There was a lady on my Instagram account who I took a photo of the tree in bloom, and she was like, "Get those petals, they're perfect for dyeing with." So I have got an entire bag full of these beautiful flowers, and I've popped them in the freezer, so these are all very cold, and they are going to be in the freezer until I am ready to create my dye bath. And I'm really hoping it's going to create a beautiful kind of pinky mauvey shade on this yarn. So we shall see. Experimentation. And yeah, if all goes well, there might well be some skeins of yarn available for sale. So I'll keep you posted, and that's so exciting. Yeah, one of my aspirations is to sell and create naturally dyed products. So naturally dyed project bags and naturally dyed yarns. It's one of the reasons why I chose to create the Creative Naturally podcast, because I want to move towards more ethical products and create beautiful Australian-based yarns. And yeah, I really want to try out some different bases. I'd love to get hold of some non-superwash yarns as well. Would be a real aim, but I'm gonna have a little try on these first and see how I go and see if I enjoy the process. And yeah, I know there's going to be lots of trial and error, but I just know they're going to be so beautiful even if they don't come out as planned. It's one of the things I love about naturally dyeing and creating things, is that you're not always in control of the whole process, and some mistakes actually create the most beautiful products. So we shall see. I'll keep you posted, and head on over to my Instagram account to keep updated with everything natural dyeing related. I'm so excited. Yeah, I really want to try birds are having some dance fun in the tree. Yeah, we've got gum trees all the way around us and eucalyptus trees as well, and I really want to have a try dyeing with some Australian natives. That would be so amazing. We've also got a massive flowering lavender bush that I would love to try dyeing with as well. So we shall see. Lots of things to dye. And that, I think, is everything that I have to share with you folks today. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to read all of your questions that you have for me and your introductions over on the Ravelry group. It'd be lovely to see you folks there. You're welcome, if you don't want to go over to Ravelry, to just say hello and comment below as well on this YouTube channel, or head on over to Instagram if that's one of your favourite platforms. I love Instagram, so I can completely relate. And yeah, it's so wonderful to get to know you folks more. I love to connect with everybody, especially being in the countryside. I see that my social network is quite online based, and I love that as well. It's so lovely to get to know all of you. So see you again in probably another 2 weeks, and happy knitting. Bye.